The New York Mets played their first regular season game of 2020, and it was as exciting and intense as you possibly could have drawn it up, with a final score of the New York Mets defeating the Atlanta Braves 1-0. Can't have any closer than that. You only get one run. It was a late run in the seventh inning, courtesy of La Potencia, Yoenis Cespedes going yard. A bomb of a shot, to be honest with you. And what really stood out to me about the Cespedes home run, there were a couple things. But number one, his previous at-bat where it was a half swing and it looked horrible. I mean, it was a routine ground ball to third, and I'm like, Cespedes looks lost. What's going on? They showed all the videos prior to the season starting against practice where facing Lugo, he hit a home run, and in batting practice, he looks great. But then come the real game, he hasn't hit anything yet. So I was getting, a little concerned because, let's be honest, the guys hadn't played in 2 years. So it's very hard to just take a 2-year break from Major League Baseball, then jump right back in opening day against your division rival, the Atlanta Braves, and all of a sudden hit a big-time home run. And that's exactly what he did. And again, this was not a cheap shot. This was way gone. This was Cespedes of 2015, very similar to a home run he hit against the Dodgers in a playoff game. That game where the Mets scored a ton of runs and Cespedes had a big home run late. It reminded me of that. You see just the immense power that he has. It's not just regular power. This is next level stuff. So that was very, very important because when you look at the way the year ended for the Mets last season, just missing the playoffs, and you could point to a lot of different things. Well, why did they miss the playoffs? Okay, lineup was inconsistent. Got off to a slow start. Bullpen was horrible all season long, and that was the other major storyline of this game. Jacob deGrom on the mound, Atlanta Braves scored 0 runs. That makes sense. You figure, all right, well, deGrom probably pitched really good, pitched deep into the game, everything was great. Not the case at all. The Mets, in my opinion, were overly cautious with the way they handled Jacob deGrom in this game. Jacob deGrom only going 72 pitches and 5 innings. That was crazy to me. I thought that we had gotten the idea that he was going to pitch at least 80, 85 pitches. So I felt that if you can get one more inning out of deGrom, that would have been very beneficial and it just would have made the game a lot easier. When Seth Lugo had to be the guy to follow him, and you knew that they were going to go to multiple innings. So you got 2 innings out of Seth Lugo. They were talking about the possibility of 3. Eventually, the Braves hitters just kept fighting off Lugo and made him throw more pitches than you would have liked, so he was able to go to 2 innings. And the next guy up was Justin Wilson. And I thought that was a very interesting decision by Luis Rojas in this game. And another big thing about this game was Luis Rojas' managing. And it was very different than Mickey Callaway's in his very first game as Mets manager. When the lineup came out, the first thing that I noticed was Robinson Cano batting 6th. And I couldn't believe it because we saw Cano bat 3rd far too often last season. Everybody knew he didn't belong there. But because of reputation and the money that the Mets are paying him, Robbie Cano was still batting 3rd. And none of us agreed with it. Then, in the exhibition games against the Yankees, Robinson Cano hitting 3rd. So, oh my gosh, he's going to hit 3rd again and, kind of mess up the season a little bit because if you have him hitting at such an important part of your order with McNeil and Alonso batting right in front of him and he's leaving them stranded, that's a big problem. It doesn't create runs. It doesn't make for a good lineup. But if you put Cano lower in the order, that's a lot better for the team. You move Cespedes up, you move Alonso up, move Conforto up, and you have a better offense right there. So you need somebody with a little bit of courage to bat Cano that low in the order. And then the other thing that Luis Rojas did, taking out Robbie Cano in the 8th inning, a defensive replacement going to Andres Gimenez, who just yesterday I was saying, why did the Mets call this guy up? Not even going to play. What purpose does he serve? But Gimenez made a nice defensive replacement. He made one really nice play where there was a Braves runner going for second, and Andres Gimenez went to cover the bag, but the ball was hit the other way, so Gimenez had to quickly turn around and get to it and then make an accurate throw. And he was able to do all that very cleanly, and it was smooth. That's a play that not everybody can make. I don't think Cano makes it because the quick change of direction was what really stood out. His whole body was going this way, and all of a sudden the ball hit that, so quickly he had to turn. And Gimenez, he made it look very easy. So I thought that was really important. There was a ball hit to him. The Mets were playing a shift. That was another thing that Mets did differently in this game. The way they shifted. The fact that Jeff McNeil, who started this game at 3rd base, in these pole shifts against Ozzie Albies and Freddie Freeman, McNeil was basically another right fielder or a second baseman. You had Robbie Cano staying in his traditional position at second base and Ahmed Rosario at his traditional position at shortstop. And I really like this kind of shift because McNeil is a traditional second baseman. So when you do these pull shifts, McNeil's essentially playing second base where he belongs, and Cano's playing second base, his position, and Rosario's at short. So even in a shift, everyone is in their natural position. So it does make for better defense. And the defense was a little surprised to me in this game. It wasn't that bad. Other than that pass ball by Ramos, which could have been a really big deal, because after Wilson Ramos had that pass ball with Seth Lugo on the mound in the 7th inning, you had a runner at third with only 1 out. It could have been a sacrifice fly that would have given the Braves the lead, because remember, the Mets had not scored yet. So that pass ball could have been almost the game right there, but Lugo was able to battle out of it and strike the hitters out. And that was the other big storyline, was the bullpen in this game. We know the main reason why the Mets did not make the playoffs was the bullpen last year, particularly somebody like Edwin Diaz. The two guys that really were consistent for the Mets, especially down the stretch, was Lugo and Wilson. The two guys that Luis Rojas went to leading up to Edwin Diaz, it was not the newly acquired Dellin Betances. It was not Jeurys Familia, who the Mets gave a pretty big contract to, all things considered. You know, they paid him just like you pay any other high-quality reliever. And it's for multiple years. So Familia, Betances, important guys, but Luis Rojas wanted nothing to do with them in this game. He went to the guys that have proved it recently in Mets uniforms, going Lugo and Wilson. And they looked really good. You know, Lugo won the 2 innings, Wilson the 8th inning, and then Diaz looked pretty good in the 9th inning. And you know what? He walked Freddie Freeman, and I loved it, because you don't let Freddie Freeman beat you. You just can't. He is too good of a hitter. He's one of the best hitters in all of baseball, especially against the Mets. I mean, you saw the foul ball he hit. It was a 3-0 count. Diaz throws one up and in, and Freeman hit it a ton. Luckily, it was foul, and then they ended up walking him. He's able to get Marcell Ozuna out on a filthy pitch, and then get Matt Adams out. And what was really important about Diaz in this game was his slider. His slider looked Seattle-like. If you go back and watch Edwin Diaz highlights of him in 2018 when he was at his best, getting the 57 saves, the big pitch for Diaz was that low and away slider to right-handed hitters, hitting that bottom left corner at 91, at 89, and that's exactly what he did later in this game, because we saw his off-speed pitch look better, because all he has is a fastball and a slider, and far too often Diaz's fastball would look okay, but that slider would hang right down the middle and it'd be a home run. But in this game, not hanging the slider of the middle, hitting the corners. And you much rather have Diaz miss low than miss right over the middle. And Diaz was able to do that in this game, stay away from the middle of the strike zone, not allow a home run, and be able to get a 1-run save against the heart of the Braves order. Again, with Albies, Freeman, Ozuna, and then Matt Adams batting right behind him. And you kind of got, and you were nervous the whole time. At least me. I was super nervous the entire time Diaz was out there. Even when I saw him warming up, I was already nervous before he even stepped onto the mound, just because we have so many bad flashbacks of last season where it was a close game, 1-run game, Diaz gives up a home run, Mets lose. We saw that way too much last year, but this year, so far, you're off to a better start. Now, the bats, they looked a little interesting in this game. Some guys looked good. Some guys didn't look so good. Mike Soroka pitched really well. He's one of the better pitchers in the National League, a future star in this league. But Brandon Nimmo looked really good at the plate today. He was working the count, got 2 hits, hit it really hard. McNeil was hitting the ball really hard, got robbed of a down-the-line double. And you know what? That's the other big thing in this game. The Atlanta Braves defense was tremendous. They robbed the Mets of runs multiple times. I think it's starting that first inning. Nimmo gets that line drive single, and then McNeil hits a rope down the right field line, and Freeman able to snag it and tag Brandon Nimmo at first base for the early double play, which really hurt. And then later on in the game, McNeil hit another line drive to first that Freeman was able to scoop in. It was a hard shot, but he was able to pick it up, step right on first. Then Ender Inciarte, he really stopped, because J.D. Davis had a no-down home run. I mean, when Inciarte jumped up, reached all the way in the back, he literally had to turn his glove like this in order to catch it, and he still was able to grab it and rob J.D. Davis of a 2-run homer. And that would have been huge, because it just, first of all, that would have been the first runs for the Mets, and it would have given you insurance runs. It would have made you feel a lot more comfortable when Diaz was out there on the mound and when Lugo was out there and Justin Wilson. I mean, deGrom, Lugo, Wilson, but Diaz, all these guys, they had to throw under very high leverage. Close game, no room for error, because the Mets only giving you the 1 run in this game. And then there was another play where I believe it was Michael Conforto or Robbie Cano, one of these guys. They hit one into left center field, and Inciarte runs it down like there was no problem. That ball was in the gap. So it shows you the value of having good defense, especially a good defensive center fielder. The fact that NCRT was able to wipe out at least 2 runs, maybe more, of that play he made in the gap as well, I just talked about, it shows the importance of defense. Freddie Freeman making those nice plays at first base, that was important for the Braves just to keep the game where it was. And then on the other side, I talked about the shifts earlier and Jeff McNeil looking natural, being in that pull shift out there at second base pretty much. And Freeman hit a line drive right to him, and it was hit really hard. And that ball bounced up, and McNeil was able to gobble it up, throw it over to first base. And that was a really nice play by Jeff, not letting that ball get past him. And we talked about Andres Jimenez taking over defensively at second base in the 8th inning. We also saw Jake Marisnick go out to center field in the 8th inning. He didn't get any opportunities, and we know he had been dealing with hamstring tightness, so the Mets signed Juan Lagares as kind of a backup option. But Lagares did not make the team. Right now, he is on the alternate squad down there pretty much in minor leagues. And Jake Marisnick was in center field, but again, didn't get anything hit to him because Diaz was just going boom, strikeout, ground ball to Ozzie Albies, and a walk to Freddie Freeman. So he looked really good there. And yes, those foul balls were close by Freeman and Matt Adams, but all in all, Diaz was able to get the job done. And it's just so important to see Yoenis Cespedes, a guy who we haven't seen in 2 years, be the main contributor, give the Mets the one run they need to win this game. I just think that is so important because these other guys didn't step up when they really needed to with runners on base, but Cespedes did. To get to the bad of the lineup, Pete Alonso looked really bad, especially in that one at-bat where you had Jeff McNeil on base and Pete Alonso in a 3-2 count on a ball on the other batter's box in the dirt. Alonso still swings at it to end the inning. And I was really frustrated right there. I was like, how did Alonso swing that? It almost looked, that ball was so far out of the zone, and somehow he still swung at it. I really couldn't believe it because Pete Alonso is a guy who, he takes some walks, and he took some pretty tough pitches in that at-bat. He was down 0-2, worked the count back to 3-2, but then still swung at that pitch all the way out there. So that really didn't make any sense to me at all. But then the other guy who didn't look good at all, Wilson Ramos, going over doing a strikeout, popping it up, not working the count. Ahmed Rizar, he had one nice hit. JD, he should hit that home run, and then he put together a really tough at-bat later on in the game. So, JD, he didn't look good in his first at-bat when he struck out Mike Soroka's curveball, which definitely was good in this game. And Robbie Cano hits into a double play early. He struck out later on in the game, but he did have that one nice hit, so that was good. Conforto, he got hit early in the game, and then, of course, that's when Robbie Cano into the double play. The Mets had gotten the leadoff man on in the first 2 innings, but then right away hinted double plays to erase those leadoff base runners, so that definitely was a problem. But all in all, obviously, you will take the win, and every game is important, and you saw that because the sense of urgency with both these managers was evident when you saw Luis Rojas, first of all, having Cano bat 6th, doing the defensive replacements to get Cano out of the game. And then all the pinch hitters that Brian Snitker went to late in the game where you had Adam Duvall have a plate appearance and you had the catcher be pinch hit for. So you saw a lot of different bats come up there for the Atlanta Braves. And I just thought that was really fascinating because you see that, every game is crucial. You have to do whatever it takes. And you know what? You have to have guys ready up in the bullpen. I thought that if Diaz didn't have his best stuff, I would have had Betances and Familia right behind him. But one thing we have to keep in mind now is that because Lugo had to throw 2 innings and around 30 pitches, we're definitely not going to see him tomorrow, and I'm not sure if we're going to see him Sunday either. So now it's going to be up to Steven Matz to deliver a better performance and go deeper into the game, because if he doesn't, that means that Betances and Familia and maybe somebody else like a Paul Sewald or maybe Hunter Strickland or one of these other guys is going to have to come into the game in those middle to late innings. And will they be able to get the job done? Will the Mets be able to put together a better performance against Max Fried than they did against Mike Soroka? We'll just have to wait and see. I do imagine that the Mets bats will be better. Again, Soroka is a good pitcher, and it just looks like all the hitters were a tick behind. It stood out when you saw Ronald Acuna striking out on a lot of fastballs. He couldn't catch up to deGrom's fastball, he couldn't catch up to Lugo's fastball, and he couldn't catch up to Justin Wilson's fastball. And Ronald Acuna is one of the better hitters in the league, one of the best players in baseball. He's ranked top 10 by MLB.com. So the fact that he looked late on those fastballs gives you a good idea of where the hitters are right now, because having this long time frame in between the spring training and now and having a short summer camp is going to be tough for these guys to find their rhythms. So we'll see how baseball is affected in that matter. How will offenses look? Will the ball still be juiced? Are we going to see less home runs? I think that's going to be very important to see. Will we see another year where you have hitters setting records, pretty much hitting home runs at a historic rate? Or will pitchers look better? And what I talked about in yesterday's video, will guys like deGrom and Scherzer and Cole and Verlander not give up as many home runs? We'll just have to wait and see. And the next Mets video will be Sunday after the series is over. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like. Comment what did you think about the game and the decisions that Luis Rojas made and just anything else going on in baseball or sports in general. Subscribe to keep up with everything going on the channel since sports are back. You know that regular videos are back. And until the next one, be safe, be smart, be healthy, and have a good one, everyone.